Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, Executive Editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with another in our series of Rarities. That is, great artists doing music that is outside of their fach and doing it fabulously. Absolutely fabulously, maybe because it's outside their fach and they had something to prove. And the disc in question was suggested by one of you just a couple of days ago, and I looked at that suggestion and said, yes, that is so right. It is this. Karajan and the Berlin Philharmonic playing Honegger Symphonies 2 and 3. Now, we've had this conversation many, many times, that Karajan's best work was usually not in the German standard repertoire, for which he, of course, believed he had to be the ultimate arbiter, king, judge, jury, and master and transcendental, superior, high guru, muck-a-muck, whatever he wanted to be. And he wasn't. No matter how many times he recorded it, he was still better at Tchaikovsky. And that was just the way it was. And I can think of quite a few individual titles that Karajan did that were really quite special. There was the Shostakovich 10, which he made twice, that he certainly had a tremendous feeling for. And then eventually when he came to Mahler, much later in his life, he did some stupendous versions. I mean, of the Ninth, for example. He did some wonderful, wonderful music outside his Fach. He also did some dreadful music outside his Fach. Oh my goodness, there was that horrible Saint-Saëns organ symphony and that vile, repulsive, appalling Nielsen Fourth, that bloated and obscene abortion of a performance. Yeah, it was bad, but here, wow. Now, why was he so good at Honegger? I don't know exactly, but it is fun to speculate just a little bit. You know, Honegger, of all of Les Six, that group of six famous French composers gathered around Jean Cocteau in the literary salon and whatever, in the French musical salons, and in the 1920s and 30s and 40s. That's who Les Six were, and the other ones were like Poulenc and Auric and who else? Cécile Chaminade, or no, Germaine Taillefer. She was two women ones. Taillefer was that one, and Mio, and it was a bunch of people like that. And some of them are well known, some of them are forgotten. But the bottom line is, Honegger, of all of them, first of all, he was Swiss, so he had a healthy dose of Germaniciousness that was infused into him. And it shows in his music. His music is extremely contrapuntal. That's the bottom line. It's really very, very vigorously contrapuntal and gnarly and contrapuntal. So that immediately would appeal to people, you would think, of a German bent, because German music since Bach is supposed to be the acme of counterpoint and things like that. So there's always in Honegger this combination of acerbic contrapuntal lines kind of crashing into each other, which is very bracing and exciting, actually. And that, I think, would have appealed to Karajan, because it just, it's like sending a box of chocolates to a German person. A German musician, you send them a box of counterpoint, and they go, ooh, counterpoint. Now, of course, Karajan wasn't really interested in counterpoint at all. He was a chord guy. He was interested in sonority. His Bach is just horrible. Any music that had required, contrasting contrapuntal lines etched in laser-like clarity of timbre was not going to be Karajan. You were going to get glue most of the time. But in this case, because Honegger was Swiss-French doing counterpoint, I have a feeling that something, it was the kind of thing that would appeal to Karajan, but he was impelled to somehow give it the treatment, to show that the music could be played in a wonderful Germanic style, which it kind of is in these performances. In the best sense. Karajan respects the counterpoint. He really, really does, in a way that he wouldn't have ever done with like a normal German composer. It's very, very interesting. Very interesting. I think Karajan had a sneaky French fixation. We just did a video on violinist Christian Ferras, the French violinist who was one of the few soloists that Karajan could tolerate. and that he got along with and made the major romantic concertos, recordings with Christian Ferris because he was French. I have a feeling Karajan was happier not dealing with German people. I really do. But that's a whole nother psycho musical discussion we could save for a future date. The bottom line is that these are two masterpieces that had never been played, really seriously, had never been played with this kind of power and density and force, and until Karajan gave him the treatment. Part of it was simply that he had one of the greatest orchestras in the world, and Honegger performances up to this point were limited to sort of so-so French orchestras, and they were so-so. They were so-so. Some of them still are. Orchestral playing, aside from the Paris Conservatory Orchestra, which was a unique sound, was definitely not in the world caliber for the most part. And these were recorded, in 1973. You also get the Stravinsky Concerto in D on here, which is possibly the most worthless piece Stravinsky ever wrote, and it's given an equally worthless performance by Karajan and the Berlin Phil. Very nicely done. His Stravinsky was horrible, but for all the same reasons, I guess, that his Honegger is terrific, because Honegger is, for all the counterpoint, Honegger is fundamentally a romantic composer. The music is intensely emotive. Stravinsky isn't. And Karajan, who could be glacial himself, I think resented other composers' glaciality. I mean, Karajan was the one who had to put the frieze on, and he got upset if someone else told him to do it. But Honegger here, oh my goodness. I mean, the second is just for strings with a single trumpet at the very end, and the string playing is just unbelievably powerful. I mean, the sheer sonority that Karajan summons from his string section at this period was really incomparable. It was unlike anything else in the world. It may not have been idiomatic, but it was amazing. And in this piece, it works. It works because Honegger writes with a similar density and intensity of sound, and so it works fabulously. And in the third symphony, the Liturgique, which is one of the great 20th century symphonies, doesn't get played nearly enough, but it's a scarifying piece. I mean, the first movement sounds like Jaws. There are moments, first of all, it begins with this hysterical, exordium for the brass with horns and trombones and the strings and woodwinds going crazy, and then it just goes cha 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 like that. I'm absolutely convinced that this is one of the most powerful and scary first movements in all of music. It's just fabulous. And again, you would not expect Karajan to have gone for it the way that they did. But the low brass really, really tells. The horns whoop the way they're supposed to. You even have percussion now and again that you could hear, and those strings just support it all. It's just wonderful. Wonderful. The finale is this really scary march. It's like a giant evil machine. It has a great tune. Da 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 ba da 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 ba 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 da 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 da. And then there's like these weird, creepy chromatic scales. It's just fabulous. And it's amazingly played here. Just amazingly played, very well recorded. It's one of the glories of the Karajan catalog, and it's totally a rarity. And because people don't much listen to Honegger, it's very easy to overlook it. But he never made a better record. So I thank you for bringing this to my attention, for reminding me that of all the rarities, this is definitely one of the biggies. And it's just terrific. So keep on listening, friends. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care.